All right, let's dive into Act 2, Scene 1 of Macbeth. Talk about a shift in tone. This is where things get seriously dark.
It really is.
We're at Macbeth's castle, right after King Duncan's visit.
Right.
And you can feel the tension, the anticipation,
Yeah.
and of course the murder plot that's about to unfold.
Yeah, the whole atmosphere is thick with it.
Oh, for sure. And it all starts with that setting, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Shakespeare uses it brilliantly to build suspense. It's nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
The moon's down. Everyone's supposed to be asleep.
Right.
It's like he's creating this world of secrets and hidden motives, everything shrouded in darkness.
Exactly. And then you've got Banquo and his son, Flans, walking through that darkness with a single torch.
It's such a striking image.
Right. Oh, absolutely. It emphasizes just how isolated they are. And even Banquo, Macbeth's closest friend, admits to feeling uneasy.
Yeah, that line about the heavy summons weighing on him, it's like he can sense the darkness closing in.
It's almost like a premonition, isn't it?
It really is. And then he goes on to talk about dreaming of the witches,
Right.
which immediately connects us back to the supernatural
Oh.
and those prophecies that are driving the play's action.
It's like those prophecies are casting a shadow over everything.
Definitely.
And then Macbeth enters the scene.
And the temperature drops. Like, his ambition is a physical presence, you know?
Oh, absolutely. He seems completely preoccupied, distant even. He brushes off Banquo's comment about the witches with, "I think not of them."
Yeah.
Which, let's be honest, is pretty suspicious.
It's incredibly telling, isn't it? Makes you wonder if he's trying to hide something.
Exactly. Like, is he truly not thinking about the witches, or is he just trying to conceal his dark intentions from Banquo?
Right. And the fact that he immediately launches into a soliloquy about murdering the king moments later
Right.
kind of suggests those witches and their predictions are very much on his mind.
Oh, 100%. And that's where we get to Macbeth's famous dagger soliloquy.
One of the most famous soliloquies in all of Shakespeare.
Definitely. And it's not just any soliloquy either.
Right, yeah.
This is Shakespeare giving us direct access to Macbeth's thoughts, his inner turmoil.
Absolutely.
We're right there in his head with him, experiencing his psychological unraveling.
And Shakespeare wastes no time plunging us into that turmoil. Macbeth sees a dagger floating in the air, handle pointing right at him.
Yeah.
And he asks, "Is this a dagger which I see before me? The handle toward my hand."
It's such a powerful image.
It really is. And it immediately raises the question, is this dagger real? Or is it a hallucination?
I mean, that's a question that scholars have debated for centuries, right?
Oh, for sure.
On one hand, it could be a supernatural manifestation, maybe sent by the witches to tempt Macbeth further down this dark path.
Yeah, I can see that.
It would definitely fit with the play's themes of fate and supernatural influence.
Definitely. But on the other hand,
Yeah.
and maybe even more compellingly, this dagger could be a hallucination, a projection of Macbeth's own guilt and ambition. If that's the case, then it shows just how deeply this idea of murder has taken root in his mind.
Like his thoughts are literally taking shape before his eyes.
Exactly.
That's a seriously chilling thought. And that blurring between reality and fantasy just keeps intensifying as the soliloquy goes on.
Oh, definitely.
He even sees blood on the dagger, even though he says there's no such thing.
Right.
That image of blood, even if it's imagined, it really reinforces the bloody path he's about to embark on.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just the visual imagery either. Macbeth's language becomes increasingly dark and disturbed as the soliloquy progresses.
Oh, for sure. Like when he says, "Now o'er the one-half world, nature seems dead, and wicked dreams abuse the curtained sleep."
Right. The world, as seen through Macbeth's eyes, is becoming a much darker, more sinister place.
Right. Like it's mirroring the corruption that's consuming him from the inside out.
Exactly.
Like his ambition is poisoning his whole worldview.
It really is. But there's still that struggle, isn't there?
You mean with his conscience?
Yeah. There's a part of him that's still questioning what he's seeing, wondering if his eyes are made the fools of his other senses.
Right, like he's desperately clinging to some last shred of rationality.
Yeah, exactly.
Even as he's being pulled deeper into this horrific act.
And that's what makes Macbeth such a complex and fascinating character. Right?
Oh, completely. He's not just a one-dimensional villain.
Right.
He's a man torn between his ambition and his moral compass.
And the language Shakespeare uses to depict that struggle, it's just masterful.
Oh, absolutely. Raw, poetic, completely captivating. It really draws you in, doesn't it?
It does. It's like you're right there with him on the edge of your seat,
Yeah.
both repulsed by his actions and yet unable to look away. And then, just when you think the tension can't possibly get any higher, Shakespeare introduces that bell
Oh, yeah.
ringing in the distance.
Such a simple sound.
Right. But it electrifies the entire scene.
It does. We know instantly what it means.
Yeah.
It's Lady Macbeth's signal, the call to action.
Exactly. And Macbeth's reaction to that bell, it just reveals how far he's already fallen. His final lines in that soliloquy are chilling. "Hear it not, Duncan, for it is a knell that summons thee to heaven or to hell."
It's like he's already mourning Duncan, acknowledging the irreversible consequences of what he's about to do.
It's such powerful foreshadowing. Macbeth knows he's crossed a point of no return.
Right.
He's not just taking a life, he's condemning his own soul.
And with that final line, we're left hanging, knowing the murder is about to happen. But we also know this is just the beginning of Macbeth's descent into darkness.
Absolutely. And there's so much more to unpack here, especially about Banquo's role in all of this.
You're right. His presence in this scene isn't just incidental. It's like he represents a stark contrast to Macbeth, a path not taken.
Exactly. He's a character we'll definitely want to explore further.
Agreed. But first, maybe we should dig a little deeper into Macbeth's mindset during that soliloquy.
Good idea.
There's a line in there that I find particularly intriguing.
Oh.
It's the part where Macbeth says, "Thou marshalst me the way that I was going, and such an instrument I was to use."
Yeah, that is an interesting line. What strikes me about it is that he's almost trying to shift the blame, you know?
Oh, interesting.
Like he's saying fate or even the dagger itself is guiding him towards murder.
That's a fascinating point. So it's not really his choice. He's just following the path that's laid out for him.
Exactly. And that idea of fate versus free will, it's a huge theme throughout the whole play.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Are we really in control of our own destinies, or are we just puppets, you know?
Right. And Shakespeare doesn't make it easy for us.
He never does he?
He gives us both sides of the argument. It's up to us as the audience to decide where we stand.
Okay, so even if Macbeth's trying to convince himself he's not in control, there's no denying he's the one holding the dagger. He's the one who ultimately makes the decision to act.
That's true. It's a good point. The play definitely explores fate and external forces, but it also emphasizes individual choice.
Right, so it's not a simple answer.
Not at all. Macbeth could have ignored the witch's prophecy.
He could have.
He could have stayed loyal to Duncan,
Yeah.
but he didn't. He chose ambition, and that choice has devastating consequences.
And you can already see those consequences starting to weigh on him even before the murder actually happens.
Oh, absolutely.
The guilt, the anxiety, it's all right there in the soliloquy.
Yes. Like when he talks about withered murder, moving like a ghost.
Right.
Or when he compares himself to Tarquin.
That Roman tyrant.
Exactly. And those allusions to figures of violence and tyranny, they're not accidental. Shakespeare is drawing parallels.
Showing us that unchecked ambition can lead to a very dark place.
Exactly. And speaking of contrasts, we can't forget about Banquo in all of this.
Right. He's such a stark contrast to Macbeth.
He really is. He's loyal. He's cautious.
And he's clearly not comfortable with this whole situation.
He's not. Remember that line he has? "So I lose none in seeking to augment it, but still keep my bosom franchis'd and allegiance clear. I shall be counsell'd."
He's basically saying he'll only accept honors and advancements if they're earned honestly.
Right. It's like he's a walking, talking reminder of Macbeth's internal struggle.
Of everything Macbeth's choosing to abandon in his pursuit of power.
And I think Macbeth recognizes that contrast. Remember earlier when Banquo mentions dreaming about the witches?
Yeah, and Macbeth I think not of them.
Right. But we know from the soliloquy that he is thinking about them a lot.
So maybe he's pushing Banquo away
Uh-huh.
because Banquo's presence makes him uncomfortable.
That's a really good point. Macbeth's ambition is starting to isolate him, even from his closest friend.
Like he knows that Banquo's a threat, in a way.
Right. Not a physical threat, but a moral one.
And that isolation, that separation from his moral compass is just fueling his descent into darkness.
Exactly. And that descent, it's all over the language, too.
Oh, absolutely.
When Macbeth talks about nature being dead and wicked dreams, he's not just describing the world, he's describing his own soul.
It's like his inner landscape is becoming as dark and twisted as the world he's creating around him.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that our actions have consequences.
That they affect the people around us.
And the world we live in.
And those consequences for Macbeth, they're about to become very real.
With that bell, it's the point of no return.
Yeah, the sound of fate closing in.
And the sound of Macbeth's conscience being silenced.
You know, it's interesting how Shakespeare uses sound to build tension.
Right.
That single bell toll, It speaks volumes.
It's so simple, but so powerful, like a death knell.
For Duncan, but also, in a way, for Macbeth's own innocence.
From this moment on, there's no going back.
And what's so brilliant about Shakespeare is that he really explores the psychological consequences of that choice.
Oh, he does? The rest of the play shows us the toll it all takes on Macbeth.
The ambition, the guilt, it eats him alive.
It does. It's brutal. But it's also a reminder that ambition and the desire for power are universal.
Right. This play might be centuries old.
But its themes are still so relevant today.
It's timeless, really.
Absolutely.
So we've been focusing on this one scene, Act 2, Scene 1.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like a microcosm of the entire play, you know?
You're right. It lays out all the key themes and conflicts that drive the story.
Exactly. And I'm curious to see how it all plays out.
Mm.
How will Macbeth deal with the guilt of his actions?
And how will Banquo react to Duncan's murder? Will he suspect his friend? There are so many questions.
This scene has set us up for a whole lot of drama.
It has. And I, for one, can't wait to see what happens next.
Yeah, it's intense. We've been right there with Macbeth, haven't we?
We have. Living inside his head, feeling that struggle.
It's powerful stuff. And it's no wonder this scene is considered such a crucial turning point in the play.
Oh, absolutely. It's a turning point, but it's also,
Yeah.
it's a microcosm of the whole thing in a way.
Right, like all the major themes are right there on display.
Exactly.
Ambition, morality, fate versus free will.
All those big questions, Shakespeare lays them all out in this scene.
Okay, so let's unpack those themes a bit. We've talked a lot about Macbeth's ambition,
Mm-hmm.
but how does this scene specifically highlight that, you know?
Well, we see him right on the edge, about to kill the king.
Yeah,
He's been promised power, greatness, and it's become all-consuming.
he wants it so badly.
He does, and this scene shows us just how far he's willing to go to get it,
Even betraying his king.
breaking every moral code.
Right, which brings us to the other side of that coin. Morality.
Yes.
Macbeth knows this is wrong. That's clear.
It is. You see that internal struggle all through the soliloquy.
Yeah, the good angel and the bad angel on his shoulders.
Exactly, and he understands what he's doing,
Yeah,
but he gives in to the ambition anyway.
it's so tragic.
It is. A good man brought down by his own desires. And then, of course, there's that question of fate versus free will.
Right. Did he really have a choice? Or was his path already laid out for him by the witch's prophecy?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
In Shakespeare, he's brilliant because he doesn't give us an easy answer.
He never does.
On one hand, you have the witches planting that seed of ambition. Their prophecy kicks off the whole thing.
It's like the catalyst.
It is. So you could argue he's just being pulled along by fate.
But then again, he makes the choice to act on that prophecy.
He does. He chooses to interpret it in a way that justifies his actions.
So he's not completely powerless.
Right. There's a balance. External forces might nudge him, but it's his choices that really matter.
It's a reminder that we have agency, even when things feel out of our control.
Exactly. But with that agency comes responsibility. Macbeth's choices have consequences.
Big consequences.
And this scene really forces us to think about those consequences, about ambition and the seductive nature of power.
It's a timeless message, isn't it? The idea that power corrupts.
It is. And that's why Macbeth is still so relevant today.
Okay, so for our listeners who are maybe new to Macbeth,
Mm-hmm.
what's the key takeaway from this scene? What should they be thinking about?
Pay attention to the choices the characters make. What are their motivations? What are the consequences? And how do those choices connect to the bigger themes?
Those are great questions to keep in mind as we continue through the play.
They are, because we'll see how Macbeth's choices here lead to his downfall.
It's all connected.
It is. So, to wrap up, Act 2, Scene 1 isn't just about a dagger or a bell.
Right.
It's about choices, consequences, ambition, and the dangers of unchecked power.
There's a lot to think about. Well, I think we've done a pretty good job diving into this scene.
I think so, too.
Hopefully our listeners have a new understanding of its complexity and importance.
Hopefully.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Macbeth.
It was my pleasure.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the world of ideas.